Go.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Konquer Fit Podcast, episode 7. Once again, my name is Chad Krotz. This is Mr. Jeff Brandt, my co-host. Before we get into what today's show is about, I just want to apologize for our last show with no video. We had some technical errors, so we apologize for that. Hopefully you guys still tuned in. Brandon gave us a lot of good stuff there. Yeah. Today, I think we're going to go a little off specific topic, if you will. Yeah. And just kind of do more of a open kind of forum type thing.
A little ad hoc. So, actually had a couple of folks that listen. Not a whole lot of you out there. So for the ones that are listening, we do thank you. Make sure you're subscribing, sharing that, getting out to some other folks. Had some people reach out via Instagram and asking about specific things when it comes to working out. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's talk about it, right? Because we've given
best way to describe it is to talk about it.
Yeah, we've given a lot of, you know, what Chad bases his philosophy on and what I've even adapted myself. But, you know, we can dig into that maybe a little bit more. So I actually got some questions that we're going to just kind of go around and just talk through, right? Chad doesn't know any of these questions, right? So you're going to get
to see how dumb I really am.
You're going to get a in-live result, you know, and just kind of seeing how we just talk off the cuff, right? So
yeah, let's just dive in.
Yeah, so first one that I got was, if I'm just starting out, how often do I need to be in the gym?
So that's a great question. And I'll start by saying the first thing we always have to do as trainers, as fitness professionals, is we have to meet the client where they're currently at in their journey.
Yep.
And I'm going to start it there, right? I go a couple different ways with this because sometimes I feel one way and then there's other times I feel differently. Mm-hmm. So you've probably heard trainers say this before, you know, one day in the gym, it's kind of a waste with the trainers. You're not really going to get any results. You're not really going to yield anything. And for the most part, I do agree with that. However, we're not talking couch to marathon here.
Yeah.
So in the same token, I'm like...
You're telling me one day a week I can't be Mr. Olympia?
Yes.
Man.
However, but one day a week for somebody who's never done any type of physical fitness and never really done anything might actually be where they're at in their journey.
Yeah.
That might be the component that they need to get them to a point where you and I are, where I just love this. Like, I show up because I really do love lifting and being here. It's not a task for me. Mm-hmm. So I would say anywhere from 1 to 3 days. How many times should you go, right? If you're a beginner, 1 to 3 times. If you're working with a trainer, there's nothing saying that doing a little bit more isn't conducive because we can always taper down.
Yeah.
So eventually, you just doing your own thing anyway and not being under my tutelage. So that's a thing too, right?
Yeah, give the person the tools to be able to do it themselves.
Let's start high. Let's break down to 2. Then let's break down to 1. And then, hey, do you feel like you still want to train, or, you know, do you want to go off on your own with this thing and I just do your programming for you? That's a thing too. So again, I think you have to meet them where they're at. It's not perfect, but there's no blanket thing, right? Like, if you shatter your hip, you need a hip replacement. That's just the thing, right? With fitness, it's different. I have to meet every individual where they are at.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's say you do have someone that you've been working with for a little bit now, or even someone that maybe hasn't been in the gym a whole lot, but they catch on quick, or maybe they have an athletic background, and they're telling you that, hey, I think I can do this 4 to 5 days a week, right? Because that's typically, most people think you have to be in the gym 4 to 5 days a week, and a lot of people that are in the industry, they are, right? But
some of them,
even yourself though, right? Like, you push rest days, so when you have that person coming to you, and that was me when I first started with you, right?
Yeah.
Chad, I'm going to work out 7 days a week. And you're like, well, if you want to continue pissing in the wind, we can do that. Or do you want to start seeing real results?
Absolutely.
So, you know, for that person that thinks they need to be in here 5-6 days a week, you know, how do you structure that for them?
Well, here's the thing, man. You've heard the old adage of if you treat everything like a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail.
Yeah.
Right? So an easy way to kind of pull them back and bring them back to reality is to make whatever their goal is seem rational, kind of, for lack of a better term, dumb it down.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, okay, I understand that you want to do 5 days a week. But when's the last time you worked out? Because the big thing here is we're trying to avoid injury.
Yeah.
And again, and some trainers might just take that and say, ching ching dollar signs, I'm going to give you whatever you want. Whereas I would rather coax you down and be like, let's maybe not do that. And let's ease you into this, you know. Because I have had clients that are like, yeah, man, whatever you tell me to do, man, I'll just do that. But I want to do 5 days a week. And I'm like, well, that's not really what I would tell you to do. And, you know, so it's bringing them back down to, okay, what's actually rational? What actually makes the most sense to get you to your goals healthfully without injury, and something that you could probably sustain for a long time. Most of the people coming to me are later in life, and they have kids. They have other responsibilities that they have to do. So maybe 5 days isn't reasonable, right? You might have, you know, you might work in the morning, but then, yeah, I've got the 4 hours until the kids get out of school. And then once they get out of school, okay, now I got to take them to band practice, football practice, basketball practice. I've got to go to their games. I got to go to their events. I got to go to their things. So we've still got to temper, you know, where's your recovery? Where's your cycle going to be?
Right. Like, you still have to be able to live. And I think, you know, when I look at it, it's, for me, when I went from 7 days, and I think right now I'm doing 5 days of lifting, 2 days of, we'll say, there's one full rest day in there where I don't do shit, right? And then there's one day where I come in and, like, so that was today. Today I came in and I did 2 leg exercises, 2 arm exercises, and I walked a mile. Right? Yeah. And that's a light day for some folks. But I think for me, where you made that impact is, I looked at, I had to have 7 days of working out, otherwise I wasn't going to meet whatever my goal was. And it's like, well, actually, maybe if you're more efficient in 3 to 4 days, you're going to get more out of that. Because I didn't have a rest day before.
Right. And maybe less is more.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe less is more in the fact of, like, I've had clients that, like, yeah, you know, I work out 7 days a week. I run 3 to 8 miles a day. And then I lift 5 days a week. And I'm like, wait, you do what now? So when are you resting? Like, when are you actively, you know, just maybe sitting around stretching, making sure your protein intake is good, making sure your, you know, diet is good that day, your hydration, your whatever. And I think that's the thing, like, you have to, we have that phrase in our society for a reason. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. You know, when we're talking about building muscle, we do need the recovery. That's when my muscle grows. That's when I heal. That's when everything takes place to actually elicit muscle growth. Can talk there for a second. But people fucking forget that. They forget that component of it.
Very overlooked.
It's overlooked, right? It's about as overlooked as weight training also helps your bones. It's about as overlooked as that.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, it also helps strengthen your bones. But I think it's because there's so much stuff out there, dude, and you've probably come across it. And you, not being where I'm at in this industry, have probably read it and been like, oh man, that's fucking crazy, right? I saw a thing today and it was like, did you know 30-year-olds lose 3 to 5% muscle mass every year? No, they don't. You don't really start losing a lot of muscle mass until after 50.
A little clickbait action there.
30, you might be losing maybe 0.5% if you're not really doing too much. You know, and when I say not doing too much, I mean just from the act of aging, right? Now, if you add on some atrophy to that, then yeah, we might be pushing 1-2%.
Yeah.
But I mean, you would have to really be being a fuck to really get to that level at 30. It's more up towards 50. 50 is kind of the benchmark when it's hard to put muscle on. And it's easy to lose it.
You know, it's funny thinking about that for myself, I don't feel like I actually really started to put on muscle until probably 32, 33, honestly. I mean, I was always had a build. I mean, I wasn't always 410 pounds or where I'm at right now, but before that happened, I don't feel like I ever built muscle when I was young, and I think that's because I didn't know what I was doing also, right? Like,
yeah, you did like 4 exercises. Bench press, back squat, leg extensions, and bicep curls. Were there any other exercises to do at that point?
I think it's when you thought I was squatting.
That's true.
Let's take that one out.
Let's just omit that one. You were probably doing crunches.
Clearly.
I'm gonna be so ripped if I do a million crunches, dude. I was there at one point.
Man, let's not even talk about you gotta train your abs, or you could brace properly during all your lifts.
And I mean, you do gotta train your abdominal musculature, but like, it's funny to me that we train abdominal musculature different than we train any other muscle.
Mm-hmm.
You do 10 to 12 reps of a bicep curl, but to build ab muscles, you gotta do 150. Wait, what? Hold on, backtrack. Why is that muscle different than this muscle? Maybe let's focus on squeezing and not just lobbing our bodies up.
And we know I'm not the smartest person, because for some reason when I do a strenuous leg day, even now when I have my weight restriction, dude, I'm messing my abs up. Right?
You told me about the one day.
Yeah.
Like, I can't fucking bend over. And I'm like, well, first of all, why are you doing that? What is your wife doing to you? Secondary to that, like, what did you do? Did you do some crunches or something? He's like, nah, man, I squatted today. I'm like, what the fuck?
Bracing a little bit too hard.
That's a little bit too hard.
So, we're going to start off, see maybe one day, work up 3 days, or just, like you said, meet the client where it's at.
Meet them where they're at. I mean, that's ultimately what you have to do. You have to figure out what the goal is, moderate the goal, and then say, yeah, we could do it in this time frame, but it wouldn't be healthy to do so.
Okay. So, along those lines, now I want to talk working sets.
Okay.
All right? Because when you first met me, I was 5x10.
Yeah.
And you people heard that correct. 5x10. And it was every lift, right? So I was in the gym 2 hours a day.
19 shoulder presses.
Yep.
5x10.
5x10. It was 5x10 for 3 years. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no doubt it's probably my strongest, but it clearly resulted in some issues. But, people that are first starting off, you've got 3x10, 4x8, 5x3, 5x5, whatever it is, So, once again, how do you look at it? Like, now, yes, you got to bring someone in, you got to see how they move, you got to do all these different things, but when it comes to working sets, what is maybe your go-to as a starting point?
Ooh, that's a good question. Shit, you really put me on the fucking front lines with that one.
I'm trying to make you look smart, man. Come on.
Generally speaking, I would say I go to 12.
Okay.
I don't know why that is. I think it's just, I always say be a master of 12, right? 12 is a good number.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
So 12 is a good number. Because I think you can get some good hypertrophy there, but I think you can also get some good strength there if you're doing it appropriately and kind of doing your periodization as it progresses, changing some type of variable to continue to get stronger in that. On the flip side of that, I will say exercise is nuance, right? You've probably seen Instagrams and TikToks and all these things of the best way to build muscle is isometric exercise. The best way to build muscle is long eccentric contractions. The best way to build muscle is this. Here's the thing, guys. The best way to build muscle is whatever you're not doing. It's a nuance effect. Look, dude, I've been in gyms for the past 17 years. If I've done the same 12 reps for 3 sets for 17 years, it stopped being effective 16 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we have undulating periodization, right? Or linear periodization. It's the changing of what you do throughout the year to change. P90X days, this was probably the muscle confusion thing, right? Yeah. Let's do muscle confusion. It's not muscle confusion. You're not confusing nothing. What we're doing is we're changing the stimulus on the muscle, right? Because generally speaking, and you know this, if I lower my reps from 12 to 5, well, how much more weight can I do?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably a lot,
yeah.
Right? Because I'm reducing the amount of repetitious wear and tear that happens to my muscles. So I can do a little bit more. Same thing if I increase the reps and I lower the weight. I can do a whole lot more and I can really tap into that endurance. It's just a different stimulus, so it affects the muscle differently. So throughout the year, you kind of got to change these things. A lot of my older clients, sometimes we just do straight full body workouts.
Yeah.
We do one exercise per muscle group, kind of moderate to as hard as we can, That way I'm not blowing joints out. Because if I'm only doing one chest press exercise, that's what? If we had to look at 3 by 12.
Yeah.
Right? That's 3 sets of 12. Done. So I'm not doing 42 sets of chest, right? So I'm going to get more out of that simply because of the fact I can push a little harder.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I said, I was hoping you were going to say the 12 because, like I was saying, I was doing a 5 by 10 and it was almost 3 years, right? And then when I started working out with you, I went to a 3 by 12 and I had this thought that, like, I'm going to lose all this strength. And so when I did my first, and I think I first started off with a chest day, and it was a 3 by 12. I'm like, well, I'll start with, like, I think 205. And I got 10. I was like, what the fuck? I got to do 2 more
It kind of blew your mind there, didn't it?
Not only do I got to do 2 more of these, I got 24 more of these left. I'm looking at that bar. I'm like, well, we weren't going to go 225 today, so it looks like we got to go down a little bit, right? And it definitely trained me a little bit different. And you even threw a fucking 3 by 30 in there. Don't even start about that because I hated it, right? But that did help with a little bit of technique.
It just goes to show you people don't piss off your trainer because
that was dumb.
You'll pay.
3 by 30. That was dumb. So you kind of hinted at the next question I had for you. Because even Holly asked me sometimes, like, hey, what are you doing? What's your program, right? So
well, and also before you ask me this next question, I also want to point out, because I did kind of call out some eccentric long contractions and ISO things. I do want to point out those things do work. It's just not saying that one is more effective than the other is a nuanced step, because if I'm doing ISOs, I just threw my whole mic down. If I'm doing ISOs, then yes, long eccentric hold contractions might give me more benefit only because I changed that variable. It's not that one is better than the other. Whatever you're not doing is what's better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think about, like, right now, you and I have no feeling in my right arm.
Yep, because and not for anything that I did. If you guys haven't caught up to us to this episode, this is
spinal injury,
post surgical intervention.
Yeah,
he can't feel the arm.
Yeah, so I've got nothing in the right arm, right? So trying to maintain that bicep, that tricep, and it's ridiculous because the left arm, it feels like I've lost no strength, right? So it is making sure that I'm being more eccentric. I'm isolating, I'm squeezing, and like it's a nuance because I can't. There's nothing connected.
There's no connection,
right? The brain's trying to get the message there, and it can't, right?
Well, and it's getting there just slower.
Yeah, and the left arm, it's getting there same time, right? Yeah. So I agree with you. It's the nuance. It's whatever you're not doing.
Whatever you're not doing,
right?
That's what works.
So
backtrack. So whatever Holly was asking you.
She's asking me about my program and whatnot, and we still need to sit down. We need to get that going. We need to talk about that.
Yep.
That could actually potentially be the next episode.
Yeah.
Go through and map that out. But I see you with a lot of people right now, especially in the wintertime. It seems like you've transitioned more folks to a full body movement, right?
I have. How
do you look at a full body movement versus compound movements for specific body groups? Because I think a lot of people, and I was stuck in this rut. And even now, like, I mix things up a little bit. But you see a lot of people, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, whatever it is, TikTok, it's the same rut I was stuck in, where it's I'm going to do 5 chest presses today, right? And I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to work triceps. I'm not going to work traps. I'm not going to work lats. I'm just going to do all chest. So when you look at what you want people to accomplish, or even what they want to accomplish, how do you determine a compound specific for a body group or full body? Because I think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And then, not to cut you off, but I never once have thought about a full body workout, right?
Yeah. I mean, it depends where you are, right? Like, here's the thing, man. If you look across the board, and you've met a lot of my clients, most of them are older. They're above 50, so they're older than you and I. So one reason to do that is to not blow the joints out.
Yeah.
Right? Keep the joints healthy, because if I'm just slamming triceps for 36 sets, I'm fucking killing that elbow, man. Like I'm crunching it, And you see this older population, especially with most of them being, office workers or even factory workers, because they do repetitive motion constantly. The last thing I need to do is give them 36 sets of more repetitive motion
Yeah.
to potentially cause more of an issue, whether they have, some lateral epicondylitis or some medial epicondylitis, tennis elbow or golfer's elbow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to accentuate that. So what I've found is doing that actually takes a whole lot of pressure off the joints. And I've had a lot of clients get actually a lot of value out of that. And when I say by value, I mean a lot of muscle growth, a lot of strength improvement by doing that. Because again, we're not hammering it, right? I'm giving you the opportunity to recover. And some of these, folks are, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, but you're getting those days in between to kind of recover. And then, I'm not doing flat bench, flat bench, flat bench. I'm doing flat bench, incline bench, fly. Mm-hmm. And that's the one chest exercise you do that whole workout. And then we move on to back. There's also, because we've also done push-pull, right?
Yep.
Well, why would we do push-pull? The muscles work off of each other. Mm-hmm. So generally speaking, I know for me this is true, I might be able to throw another 20, 30 pounds on something just because I'm working the opposing structures.
Yeah.
I'm strengthening the movement while I'm doing it. So that's kind of why I've moved a lot of people towards that full body. It's an age thing, but it's also they needed something different. And I'm like, what thing can I change that's not going to completely smoke them?
Yeah.
Right? Because again, we could focus on destruction. We could do that all day long. We could come in here, Jeff, and you and I work out on Saturday and Sunday. Usually we're the only two people in here. And I could be like, Jeff, man, let's just fucking blow it out, dude. Let's just fucking 60 sets of fucking chest and let's just fucking go.
With a good time.
And it's like, you could do that and then, yeah, you'd feel great that day. And then the next day when you wake up, you're going, dude, what the hell did I do? Blew it.
So for, your other clientele, maybe it's an easier sell for them because you're telling them that, hey, we're going to change this up a little bit. We're going to do full body and it's going to be easier on your joints. But let's talk about like someone like me, right?
Yeah.
Where mentally, like I've had that block where I got to get all my lifts in for whatever I'm doing, right? So like, we have talked a little bit about my next program being kind of structured more that full body effort.
Yep.
How do you tell someone like me, like, hey, you're not going to lose your bench, you're not going to lose your deadlift, you're not going to lose your squat, right? Because for me, and I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah.
I always think if I don't get my 30 sets of chest,
then you're going to lose it.
Yeah, right.
I have to always express that, again, you have to remember strength is nuance, right? Mm-hmm. If I want to increase it, I have to continually change something, right? If I just came in here and I deadlifted 1 rep every single day, would I get stronger over time? Probably. But eventually that's going to wear out.
Yeah.
And eventually I'm going to either reach a weight that my body just can't attain, or I'm going to just be so fatigued from that the workout's not even worth anything, right? And it's not to say that the workout is we're not working out just to burn calories. That's not the point of working out. The point of working out, especially in a weightlifting fashion, is to build muscle.
Yeah.
Right? And so when we look at that across the board, I've got to redirect you, right? And kind of if we're talking about giving you gas, right? Mm-hmm. Because, well, Jeff, actually doing this, you're only doing 1 set of 3 bench presses.
Yeah.
Right? Or 3 sets of 12 bench press, and then we're moving on. So you can actually do a little bit more weight.
I should be able to push
You can push this a little harder. And because that workout generally takes about 45 minutes to an hour, if you're, even if you're taking one minute breaks or just over, this still takes you about an hour. Mm-hmm. So you can still take your breaks, give yourself time to recoup in between those lifts, and still throw some decent amount of weight. And ironically, you might actually put more weight up because now I don't have to go incline, fly, decline, dumbbell. I'm not moving through everything. I got 1. So I know I can give everything I got in the tank, and it's not going to hurt anything.
It's a good way to think about it. And so along those lines, how do you determine how much to leave in the tank?
Well, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I need to have 1 or 2 left in the tank, right?
You know what I'm going to say. I prefer to leave 1 to 2 in the tank, mm-hmm. and the reason for that being is I like to leave feeling better than when I came in.
Yeah.
If I'm just going to fatigue every time and I'm just killing myself every single time, generally speaking, you're probably not leaving better than when you came in. You're probably leaving tired. And then whatever you're doing, you got the rest of your day, and now you're like, nah, I'm just over it. Now I don't want to do it. And so I would rather leave a couple in the tank. You know, and you'll know that. And there's another reason for that too. You see this with novice lifters a lot. And I would rather you leave 2 in the tank than force those 2 and your form went to complete dog shit. So it's a good thing you forced those 2, because when you went to lift that bench press, all of a sudden the right arm was moving faster than the left and it looked like complete ass.
Or you a solo lifter, you know, and you don't have the proper safety in place if you're going to fail a set.
Yeah, you haven't set your stuff up right and you fail. Well, now, you know, Jeff, you're sitting in here until Monday, until I come in at 5 in the morning with a bar on your chest.
You better add more weight on that damn bar.
Because you're fucking stupid.
Yeah, but
right?
Once again, if I'm dead, there better be more weight on that bar.
Oh, no, you're going to be alive. You're just going to be pissed off and hungry.
You put weight on the bar.
You're going to be like this, like, God damn it, can you just put a sandwich in my mouth and rub my throat? Because I'm starving to death right now.
Oh, shit.
But, you know, and that's, again, that's a nuanced thing, man. Like, it's such a weird thing in the fitness industry that everything has become that only one way works for one thing.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you scroll through your Facebook pages or your Instagram reels or any of that stuff, you can see all these companies pop up that are, did you know you can only work out for 7 minutes a day doing calisthenics and you can, in 2 weeks, you'll have the body you want? What? No data backs that up. Not one. Now, I will tell you that, yes, if I'm trying to meet someone where they're at and they're really having trouble, yes, doing a little bit every day is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But not 7 to 15 minutes. 7 to 15 minutes is like 2 to 3 sets of push-ups and then you're done.
Yeah, it's your warm-up on the treadmill.
Yeah, I mean, that's not enough to elicit a response. And look, guys, I mean, we have a lack of muscle problem. We have, and strength and muscle mass is the longevity of life. It's how you keep doing whatever the hell you want to do throughout life. Because if you don't have muscle, you're not going to move very well.
No.
Your bones don't move you. Your muscles do.
Yeah.
And so if we continue to keep thinking along this thread of what's the easy button, how fast can I get there, we're thinking about the wrong thing. Because somewhere along the line, you're going to end up injured. And somewhere along the line, you might get to a point where you just hate it because all you're doing is thinking about punishment and destruction.
And stop comparing yourself to people on social media, man. Like, comparison is the thief of joy. Just be happy that you're able to get into the gym and get something done, right? You said it yourself, it's longevity.
Yeah.
You got to show up, you got to put the work in. It's not meant to be easy.
And look, man, dudes, yeah. For a man, you can probably get down to 3% body fat without dying. But for most guys, dude, if you're sitting around, I'd say even 13% body fat, that's pretty good. Across the board. I mean, that's not bad at all. And so you have to think about that too. It's not just one thing. It's not just, oh man, if I get down to 7% body fat, I just know.
But what are you going to do at that point?
What are you going to do?
You just going to maintain it forever?
No, what you're going to do is you're going to fucking hate life because you had to get rid of every carb that you eat. You had to have no dessert. You had to have no nothing that you actually enjoy eating. You know, you have to completely cut everything out. Now, if you're in competition, sure, do that. Yeah. If you're prepping for a vacation and you're trying to push something out, absolutely, do that. But if we're talking, I'm just trying to do this to do it, like, dude, nobody walks around striated all day long. Brandon does not walk around striated 365 days a year. You can't hold it. You'll get a cortisol dump. Your body will dump cortisol, stress hormone, into your body, and you'll be fluffy anyway. Because your body is under so much stress. And that, you know, kind of goes into, you know, kind of another thing I wanted to touch on, you know, is this whole BMI thing. I saw a thing on the internet the other day, and it blew my fucking mind about how people don't even understand what BMI is. Whoever commented on this post clearly doesn't understand what body fat percentage is or BMI.
Okay.
Because he says, yeah, man, BMI is so outdated, which, folks, BMI is outdated. Simply comparing your height to your weight and saying you're overweight is completely stupid.
Yep.
Because it doesn't take into account bones, organs, or muscle mass. It simply is flat weight to height. It's stupid.
Yeah.
We're the only country that still uses that stupid ass scale.
So just for comparison, and I'm not in where I want to be at this point because of the injuries that I've had here recently. But I'm 6'4", and I weighed myself the other day. I'm heavier than where I was pre-injury, but I'm 256 pounds, right? Mm-hmm. So I was 242 pounds, feeling great. I was only 2 pounds away from what my goal had been.
Yep.
So I'm heavier than where I want to be. At 0% body fat, all right, I would be 205 pounds. So at about 15% body fat, 235 to 238 is a great goal for me.
Yeah.
Right? So if
because your body looks totally different.
Yep.
Then.
If we're talking BMI though, right now at 255 pounds, I'm morbidly obese.
Oh yeah, dude.
And you see me move in the gym. Do I look like someone who's?
No.
I mean,
Jeff, let's put this. I mean, I'm 190 pounds at 5'11". I think my BMI is like 26, 27.
Yeah.
So according to that, I'm overweight.
Yep.
And you know me personally. I would really fucking love to know where I'm overweight at.
Yeah.
Like, you guys see my wrists.
Yeah.
Like, where am I overweight at?
Yeah, it's a terrible measurement. But
and so you have this person comment and goes, yeah, man, I went to the doctor and they said I had a BMI of 0. I'm like, no, that's not. If we're talking if we know the equation of what BMI is, that is physically impossible. It is your height to your weight. So you're 0 inches tall and 0 weight, not a thing. But then it gets worse because as you read the comment, he rolls into like, yeah. So she was like, well, we're gonna just put 3%, and I'm like, percent of what? Now we're talking about body fat percentage, and I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, I don't even know where we're going with this because you're mixing two different things, and it's so convoluted now.
Two systems of measurements that you're screwing with.
But again, it's people don't understand. Mm-hmm. Women don't understand if they're not in this. Women that are bodybuilding or avid in the gym or medical professionals, they understand this. But a woman can't get below like 12 to 13% body fat. They would die. Mm-hmm. Their body requires more fat than ours because they have to sustain things that we don't have.
Yeah.
They have to sustain life. They have to, bear children. We don't have to do that. So our body can go down to a more, let's say, depleted state of fat and still be okay.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that's the other thing. You have to understand the scale that you're trying to use. BMI, I don't use it with any of my clients, and I never will. Because it just simply doesn't make sense. Body fat percentage, or for the most part, how do you feel? Do your clothes fit better? Is your energy better? Is your strength still going up while you're still feeling smaller? Mm-hmm. Then we're probably on the right track.
Yeah, I mean, for you, I shouldn't say it's easy, but with your background, that's how you try to get people mentally, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel? For even like myself and my wife, and honestly, I was able to push us on Holly because even when I started working out with you, I'm like, hey, I gotta get to this weight, because I'm gonna be at this percent, blah blah blah, and you're like, yeah, but how are you feeling? I'm like, I'm feeling better than I've ever felt.
Yeah.
A couple months goes by, I'm still hearing that fucking chat in my ear with that same dumb message. Then I realize it's not a dumb message. Makes sense. My knees aren't hurting, my shoulders aren't hurting, my back's not hurting, things are moving, more weights moving in the gym, less weights moving in the gym, but it's all moving better, right? And so I remember when Holly first started working out, and she was, at this point, I think I was weighing myself like every 2 weeks, just to make sure I wasn't being a complete ass when it came to my diet, right? She's weighing herself every night. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, yeah. I'm working out, I'm watching what I'm eating. I said, okay, but how do you feel? And I mean, I can tell you, I am jealous of my wife when it comes to like her muscle growth on her lower body. Pissing me off, right?
Yeah.
Because she has put on some quads and she has put on some glutes and she has done a fantastic job. And it's like, you shouldn't care.
And she has.
Yeah. Dude, she's killing it. You shouldn't care what the scale says because physically, I see a difference and other people see a difference. And like, even like just watching her interact with the kids and watching her squat down, I'm like, fuck that scale.
Yeah.
Like whatever you're doing is working.
It's working.
Right? So like, but I think it's tough for people.
Yeah. I would like to throw in there because I think you're being a little hard on yourself. And this is me talking.
I'm always going to be the hardest on myself though, right?
So this is me not talking as just your trainer, and this is me also talking as your friend. I think you're being a little hard on yourself because I think before this injury, we could say, if we kind of, let's say, took a walk down memory lane of your Facebook from the last couple years before the injury and post injury. You know, you went to your brother's wedding, and I told you, I was like, holy shit, man, diesel arms, dude. Holy fuck, man, what are we doing here? Like, maybe we should back off the bicep curls. You can jack. But I think you've, kind of lost track of, and it happens because you've gotten thrown down by this injury. But like, dude, you weren't squatting before.
No.
Dude, I think you looked at me the other day, and I think there might have been 65 pounds in the bar, and you're like, dude, did you see that depth? You see how far I went down right there? And I'm like, without breaking your knees, yes, I did see it, and it was good.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the thing with most people. You got to give yourself some credit somewhere. Because at some point, man, what is the end-all, be-all of anything?
Yeah.
You're doing this ultimately for your health, which equates to happiness, right? So if we're constantly stealing from our own joy by comparing ourselves to others, or taking away from ourselves and our own accomplishments, dude, 1% in the right direction is 1% in the right direction. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
And so that's what I see more so than anything. I see people that they won't take the W, man. Take the W, right? If you tracked your food perfectly for a week and you've never done that before, and then we're looking at your foods and there's some not so, healthy foods in there, take the W. You've never tracked food before.
Yeah.
Right? It's getting you to learn consistency and technique and habit and all that stuff that leads to a healthy body for the long term.
No, I mean, that's, you got to celebrate the small victories, right? And like you and I were talking before we started the show, I was talking about my middle daughter in basketball and had a little bit of breakdown. She's like, I got to be perfect. I'm like, nobody's perfect. Nobody in the entire world is perfect, right?
Consistency over perfection.
I just want you to be better than you were the day before. That's it. And that's the only reason I'm still in the gym right now when I really can't move a whole lot of weight, because when I do get that green light, I want to be able to take that slow roll and make sure I build everything back properly.
You have to.
Yeah. I mean, I told you, and I was squatting 65 pounds, and I got done with a working set, and I looked over to, hey, how'd that look? I'm like, good. And if you'd been squatting 600 pounds next to me, I'd been like, my squat was better than yours.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I mean, I probably need to do a little bit more of that. So we've been talking now for 37 minutes. I got a couple questions I want to get through, right?
Yeah,
And,
let's do it.
That section was pretty good. And this one is a personal favorite of mine. Because
a zinger question.
It's not necessarily a zinger. And you know what? You've already hinted on it since we've been talking, but how often should you switch up your routine?
I'm going to say I really like 12 weeks. And that's a personal preference. I like that because it gives you a little bit of time to make some adaptations and really get into it. There are some 4-week and some 8-week ones that are good too.
Yeah.
I think 4 weeks is too short. I don't think you have really enough time to develop anything in there. Because realistically at 4 weeks, I'm not increasing anything in 4 weeks. I'm going to tell you at 4 weeks, then we'll do some increasing.
Yeah.
8 weeks is pretty good because then it gives you because I have a lot of clients I don't actually see. They're just remote. And I say remote by even in the Quad Cities. Like I still have some clients, I don't really see them. I give them the program, I check in with them weekly. And it's more of a, hey, how were the lifts this week? I saw some numbers, but how's everything feeling kind of thing. 4 weeks is a good middle ground to go, okay, make sure you pay attention to your program because I put some progressions in there. We're going to now move up just a little bit, right? Towards the end of that 4 weeks and that last 4-week cycle. 12 weeks I like because then it gives us the opportunity to kind of do a little bit more. And then we're going to change. I might flip you on your ass that next 12 weeks. Yeah. We might go completely into a strength phase and we're doing 5x5s.
Or you're throwing fucking 3 legs day.
Or you're going 3 leg days,
Bullshit.
But it's separating and dividing those things out so that they make sense. And so that, again, my thing is not destruction, man. I'm not here to destroy you. I'm not here to bury you into the ground. That's why I like 12 weeks. God, I can't talk today, dude.
It happens.
That's why I feel like that works better.
So not 3 years?
No. God, no, not 3 years of doing the same thing.
No, check that one
I
out.
see so many people that do that too, man. Like they barrel themselves in, and then we're sitting there having a conversation. They're like, "Yeah, man, but it worked," and I'm like, "It worked,
But did it?
but did it? Because you look the same that you did 12 years ago."
Yeah. So literally, I think when you were still at the other place and I was working out there, it was every Saturday. I always got there at 6:30, and you showed up at that time. I think like 7:30.
Yeah.
You'd walk by and be like, "Another chest day, Jeff?" I'm like, "It's Saturday, man. Chest day Saturday, rest day Sunday, chest day Monday."
I think it was chest or shoulders. It was like, so 53 sets of shoulders today, huh? So we're gonna go from barbell shoulder press to dumbbell shoulder press, back to a push press, and then deficit presses. Any lat pulls and lateral raises in there? Any rear delt? No, we're just all mid front delt. Cool, man. Do your thing.
Yeah, and that's where you first challenge me, and you're like, "Hey, man, maybe you should look at maybe changing things up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And trying something different."
I will say, man, since you've been fed more, because we talk about the last several episodes where you were at a 1,500 calorie 1,500 calorie diet.
Yep.
When we first met, and dude, I mean, you had the darkest circles under your eyes. You looked absolutely exhausted. And then I talked to you, and you'd be like, "No, man, I feel fine."
Mm-hmm.
Really? Because you look like you're about to die. Like you look like at any moment you could keel over right now.
It was 1,000 milligrams of caffeine that was keeping me up, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, dude, you probably could have got a prescription and just fucking mainlined it. It would have been faster.
Definitely would have been cheaper. No doubt about it.
No doubt.
So, you bring up a lot of great points there. It's like 4 weeks is probably not, or 4 weeks is probably too soon, right?
Too short.
8 weeks is a good middle ground, and you have some folks on 12 weeks because you're allowed to look at it every 4 weeks. Be like, all right, now we're going to increase, we're going to decrease, we're going to flip a little bit, right? So,
yeah.
And that's kind of what we have done with myself, and I can tell you I absolutely love it because it allows me for the first 4 weeks to be like, hey, this is where I've been at, and Chad's like, all right, hey, that's great, now we're going to go do this, or hey, you know what? We got to draw back a little bit because I'm seeing something that's not working for you.
It allows for progression and growth. It allows for pivot.
Yeah.
If I have to change something, or if we have to change directions because either you're filming something and sending it to me and I'm going, oh man, something doesn't look right there.
Yeah.
I know in a week it's going up, but let's just stay there. Let's change that. Let's go back down for another week and see if we can effectively make some change form-wise, right? So the 12-week for me, it's a time thing. It just gives you more time for growth because growth doesn't happen quickly.
Yeah. So don't be sticking on your programs forever like I was, folks. Change things up.
Change things up. And when I say change things up, man, that might be something as simple as instead of barbell today, I'm going to do dumbbell.
Yeah. Yeah.
It changes the dynamic. Right? Yeah, it changes the dynamic.
I mean, I've even seen some different things in here with, where typically I'm doing a bent over row to try to hit the back, right? Now you've got people at a Smith machine or a cable machine and you're pulling down.
Yeah.
Right? And it's hitting the same muscles, right?
Yeah.
But
just
now
a different line of movement.
Yeah, dude. So there's how many different ways to skin a cat?
Yeah.
Right? So before we wrap up today's episode, I have a question that's very near and dear to me, and the reason because historically, before I started working out with you, I wasn't good at this. And working out here at Konquer Fit, Chad's gym, it's something that you will always see when you work out, and I'm not calling out any of those big places, but with there being more clientele there, you're going to see it.
Okay.
And what I'm getting at is a warm-up. And I'm not talking, hey, I'm going to do a bench day, so if my working sets are starting at 225, I'm going to warm up with 135 or the bar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking, and you see me do it, whenever I am going to have a leg day, I'm doing dynamic stretching, I'm doing things to make sure I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
When I was in the big gyms, you don't see it a whole lot. And it's not necessarily age specific. There's people who are all guilty of it, but having the injuries that I've had in the gym, whether it's been the spinal surgeries or it's been, the knees or even the shoulder, I take all my lifts serious and I make sure that I do some type of warm-up because I don't want to hurt myself more.
Sure.
Right? So how do you get that across to people? Like, I think folks come into the gym and like, man, I've only got an hour, so I can do 5 minutes on a treadmill, I can do 2 minutes of warming up, and I can get my workout in.
Yeah. So for me, it's easy when it's a one-on-one client. It's super easy because all I really do is like when we're sitting in the consult, they ask me how long the session is. The session's an hour. Yep. We're going to do a 5 to 10 minute warm-up. We're going to do a 5 to 10 minute cool down. Right? And so I'm guiding that. I'm walking them through every step of that. Now, depending on how they come in that day, that warm-up might look different. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time, I really like walking as a warm-up.
Yeah.
Because again, you got to remember what the warm-up is for. It's to get the muscles ready to move. Mm-hmm. Metabolically, that's what it's for. We got to get the muscles warm. We got to get blood flow going where it needs to go so that when we work out, we don't, have something bad happen. Yeah. So we stay away from the static stretching. We don't do hold stretches for a long period of time before because I don't want to overstretch tendons before I'm going to apply weight to them. But sometimes it might be a walk. Sometimes it might be dynamic stretching. Sometimes it might be walking up and down the floor, holding your knees, or reaching towards your toes, or doing internal external rotation. It depends on what the day entails. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it might be whatever the movement is. After a 5-minute walk, it might be that movement. Yeah. It might be a banded bench press with an isometric hold. It might be internal external rotations of the shoulder. It might just be a barbell with nothing on it. Hey, let's just work on form for this first set. This is not a working set. We're just going to make sure your forms are where they need to be before we put weight on here, right? And sometimes they even throw bands on those. Throw a band on your wrist so it puts you into external rotation, or put bands on the rack so that you have to pull forward because the bands are pulling backwards, right?
Those lats engaged.
Try to get those lats engaged. So it just depends, man. And, it's not actually hard to sell people on to do a warm-up.
You wouldn't think so.
It's not hard because when they come in, especially now, we have to acknowledge that here in Iowa, it's been negative 20 degrees for like a week.
It's -9 out right now at the filming of this episode.
So at -9, someone's going to come in and they're going to go, oh man, I am just stiff. Mm-hmm. All right, Jeff, how about we pop on the treadmill for about 5 minutes real quick? We'll just pump that up to about 2.5, 3 miles an hour. We can even bump the incline up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's get your breathing going. Let's get some warmth in your body. Let's get some blood flow moving. So it's pretty easy in that aspect of it. Where it's hard is, people are like, oh, well, it's hot outside, so I'm already warm.
My body's warm. I'm ready to go.
Oh, that's not really the point. I want to make sure your movements are well going into this. And, I think we've all been guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of just fucking running into a workout and been like, all right, let's just go to working sets. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't warm up at all. All right. So now I'm going to do 9 sets of bench press because I didn't warm up at all. So I'm going to take all the weight off. I'm going to do 3 sets of just trying to get my muscles moving the right way. And then, I might throw some internal, external rotations in the interim. So again, it's not about being perfect, right? But yes, there should be a warm-up and a cool-down phase built into your workouts. It shouldn't just be,
right off the bus, I'm into the gym.
Right off the bus, I'm into the gym. And I'm going to pick on CrossFit a little bit. And guys, I don't pick on CrossFit because I don't like it. I coached it for 5-6 years. But it's like walking into the gym and immediately taking your shirt off. What are we doing? We didn't do anything yet. Why are you taking your shirt off?
Where's camera?
And dude, I used to have buddies that did it notoriously, and I would give them shit every time. I'm like, dude, we haven't done anything yet. We haven't even done the warm-up yet. And they're like, yeah, I know, but it's hot outside. Yeah, I know, but we haven't done anything yet. Why are you taking your shirt off? Like,
can't get sweaty, man.
That's like going on a first date and like showing up to the dinner table and taking your pants off. We haven't even had dinner yet. What are we doing?
I'm not going to tell people what to do. If that works for you, man, best of luck. Drop a comment in below. Let us know.
I'm sure it doesn't work for you. If it does, let me know how the jail stint was after you dropped your pants in a restaurant in front of a bunch of people.
The reason I bring that question up, though, Chad, is once again in the world that we live in, most of the stuff that's tailored on any of my social media pages is something that's gym related, right? And so you and I, or Ed and I, or whoever, I'm normally sending skits back and forth or this back and forth, and it's normally someone that's tearing a pec or tearing a quad or something. And it's like, you just have to ask yourself, do you think it's they didn't do a proper warm up, or do they have something else going on, or whatever it is.
It's about them trying to make it overcomplicated.
Yeah, and I just look at it as like, man, I don't ever want to put myself into a spot where I hurt myself in the gym because I didn't take the 5 to 10 minutes to do some type of warm up, whether it was walking on the treadmill or some type of dynamic stretching, right? Because like, I can't afford to not be in here mentally.
Yeah.
Right. So like, if I hurt myself because I was an idiot, and I'm like,
stress relief.
Yeah, I don't need to take a warm up. I've bench pressed this 1,000 times in my life, and next thing you know, it's like I tore my pec.
And cool, now I have a hernia in my testicles. So, awesome.
And once again, since I transitioned to Konquer Fit, there's not one person besides maybe yourself, and you admitted it wholeheartedly, that comes in here who doesn't do a warm up. Every one of your clients, they come in here and it's right to the treadmill, and then maybe it's some type of dynamic stretching, maybe it's walking up and down, pulling some knees up, right? So just don't be dumb, folks.
And for me, I tend to go right to Woody Harrelson, in Zombieland. He's like, "What are you doing?" Stretching. He's like, "Wow, you ever seen a lion stretch before they attack their prey?" No. And I'm like, that's me in the weight room. Good old Woody. So, is that all you got for me, man? That's all the questions?
That's almost an hour worth of conversation, man.
Man, generally speaking, I don't like being put on the spot. And anybody that knows this about me, it's you. And you fucking did it today, you son of a bitch. No, but I think that's good, man. I think we had a pretty good conversation about, just some things that I think are lingering on a lot of folks' minds. And again, the whole point of this is to appeal to the average gym goer, not someone who's trying to compete, not someone who's trying to do the best or be perfect, right? It's for the average guy who's looking for sensible information as far as, working out, lifestyle, and fitness are concerned.
Absolutely.
And I think we nailed that. So with that, guys, episode 7 wrapped up.
Yes, sir.
As long as you guys keep tuning in, we'll keep putting them out. And even if you don't tune in, we're just going to do it anyway because we have microphones, so you have to listen to what we have to say. But in all seriousness, guys, please, if you like the show, if you like what we're throwing out there, please like, subscribe, comment, share. Look us up, guys. Throw a question at us of something you'd want to see on the show that might be lingering in your mind. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up episode 7, guys. If you're in the Midwest, stay warm. If you're not, I hate you. So with that, guys, we're going to sign off. We'll see you guys next time.
Remember, folks, just don't suck.